Hey guys, Duelist here. I know Monday is deck profile Mondays, but sadly I do not have a deck profile for today. And why is that? Well, because not all my cards for Aqua Turbo came in. I got to order, well, for version 2, I got to order the, stuff I needed for the deck on Wednesday, and everything's just not in yet. And I actually haven't been able to meet up with any of my friends who also play Yu-Gi-Oh! Do collabs with them like we did with Steven for his FA deck. Hopefully I get to do that tomorrow though, so tomorrow's video might be uploaded later in the day, and hopefully I'll be able to film a bunch of deck profiles, so we'll have some for a while. But today, I wanted to do something special to make up for this, and I have my laptop here to help me. We're on TCG Player, and today we're doing not really much of, well, not a discussion, it's more of a guide to Barrier Statue, Stun slash Antimeta Stun. The only real difference with the decks is one just doesn't play Barrier Statues. So we're going to essentially go briefly talk about the Barrier Statues, kind of introduce you guys to them for those of you who don't know what they are, briefly mention why they are either side decked or if they're not side decked, they're essentially they go into Barrier Statue Stun, why no one main decks them for the most part outside of that deck, and we're going to look at some staples and essentially gonna have a price guide. As I said, TCG Player, so I'm gonna give you guys prices. These are all gonna be up to date. And this is gonna be a two-parter. Tomorrow we're going to more explore ideas for the deck. As Antimeta is, there's just so much you could play, and we just want to focus on the main things today. So let's jump right into this. So for those of you who don't know what the Barrier Statues are, there's 6 of them, 1 for each attribute, and they all have the effect where essentially neither player, as long as this card's on the field, neither player can special summon any monsters except for whatever attribute the Barrier Statue is. So if you have the light one, you and your opponent can only special summon light monsters. Water monsters, so forth, vice versa with all of them. Looking at prices, the most expensive one is actually the light one. It does say the market price is $242. That's a lie. It's kind of old. If you actually look at prices, though, you can get near mints for about $1. It's the most expensive one. I remember for a long time this one was at $4, or a bit over $4, because of Counter Fairies. When that came out, this card shot up in price and went back down because Counter Fairies didn't really receive much play, and we have Trick Stars running around, which is one of the 3 main meta decks, and they're all light monsters. So this essentially does nothing to one of the 3 meta decks. So it's not really seeing much play. All the other ones, looking at them, they're starting around 10 to 20 cents each. And all of these cards were printed in Cyberdark Impact, which came out in, I think it was like around November, like 14, 15, something like that, 2006. So all these cards are really old. The Water and Fire ones had reprints in OTS Pack 4. Honestly, because I know the water one is the most popular out of them. And I'm gonna guess the fire one is the second one. That's why I'm guessing for the fire one, or just could be fire, water, clashing forces, one of those 2 reasons. But they're all common prints and really, really cheap. So even if you're not gonna build a Barrier Statue deck, definitely worth picking up for side decking. which I know it's not like the first side deck pick, but if you're mainly running a pure attribute deck for the most part, they're definitely worth picking up. As with my experience, essentially, if you play one, like if you're going first, well, now your opponent has to essentially waste main phase one and then spend their battle phase and try to run over it. Which, if you're not supporting the if you're not supporting the statue, is pretty easy. And just kind of essentially makes them waste a main phase one and a battle phase. So they have to spend main phase two setting up a big board. So it kind of gains you a a little advantage, I guess how you could say, on time if you want to consider it like that. And the reason why no one main decks them is just, other than Barrier Statue Stun, is just because of how weak these cards are, and no decks really support it on their own. Dynamis can, and that's the only one I can think of top of my head because of Pletheos. Don't know what it does. For as long as the card's on the field, all your opponent's monsters lose 100 attack and defense for each Dynamis card you control. That includes spells and traps that are face up on the field. And you can essentially stack the effect of Pletheos. So, and then you do have the generic attribute Link monsters, which boost all monsters of the attribute attack and defense by 500. So it does actually can support the barrier statues. So that's essentially why they get side decked. As for the Bear Statue Stun deck or Bear Statue Stun decks themselves, typically with those decks, at the most the Bear Statues are played at six. Like you play 6 Bear Statues. Usually it's 2 of the 3 or 2 of you do 2 copies of 3 attributes that are not played, or 3 of 2 attributes are not played. Essentially, the ratios of what barrier statues you're playing are determined by the meta in your area, or local meta, and such. I've only seen one person ever play one of each copy. I wouldn't really do that, and usually they side deck some of the other barrier statues, so that's also an option. But we're gonna look at a couple of the staple monsters, and a few of the staple spells. One of the most recent staple monster is Inspector Border, which I'm pulling up right now. I know he should be about $5. I'm actually checking right now just to be sure. Again, he's about $5 from the Megatins. Original pack ones are going about $6.50 to $7. And for those of you who don't know what Inspector Border does, essentially you summon him, and your opponent, it essentially limits the effects, amount of monster effects your opponent can have, where essentially if they want to activate 2 monster effects, they need to control like an effect monster, like an XYZ, Fusion, Link, etc. The more different types of monsters they control, the more effects they can activate, which most decks don't really go crazy with that. Usually now it's more of they try to just make straight links or a link board and such. And the other card is Fossil Dyna. I think it's pronounced Placithalo. Usually, people just call this card Fossil Dyna, and that's usually what I typically call it. Looking at this card, we have the Duelist Saga print, which honestly I think is the best print of the card. For around $1.25, $1.50 for near mints. You have the super rares. going for about 75 cents. Lightly played, $1, more around $1. They'll be near mint, commons, about $1.30, and then you have the secret rare, which isn't budget friendly, for about $10, roughly around $10-11 for near mints. And that's another thing too, is bear statues bear statue stun can be very budget friendly. And something else too that also helps with that is these decks don't run an extra deck. Looking at the history for them, looking online, very few even play very few bear statue stun decks. Barely play any extra deck monsters. There's a few where I've seen where they run one or two copies of a specific card. Like I saw one that ran Stardust Dragon, another that ran Black Rose Dragon, board wipe. I can understand that, but you don't really have to. You don't need an extra deck for the most part, so you don't have to worry about dropping money on that. And then two other staple cards I'm going to bring up. Moon Mirror Shields. If you don't know what this does, you equip it to a monster, and anytime it battles a monster, its attack and defense become 100. Whatever the monster it's battling is, attack and defense is plus 100. So essentially, you'll be able to run over anything. You typically want to run 2 of this card. Most people run it. Some people run it at 1. I think 2 is good because the card actually can recycle itself from the grave, go to the top of the deck. So 2 is honestly fine. And looking at this card, you have the common from Cyber's Link, which is about slightly under 50 cents near mints. And then you have a rare from Cross Souls, about $1. And then you have the Megatin packs, Megatin pack 1 from 2016, also rare, which is going for around $1.40, which I honestly find a little weird. Usually the OG pack ones would be a bit more pricier than the Megatin or Megatin reprints. Don't know why. That's the opposite. It's an opposite case on that one. And then the last staple I'm gonna pull up is Pod of Duality, which this card's had a lot of reprints. You have legendary decks, cards $1. Link Strike, $1. Legendary decks 2, $1. $1.50. Hero Strike, $1. Essentially, all of the common ones are going for about $1. You have the Duelist Saga printing, which is currently around $3.50, which I personally would pick up. I personally love the Duelist Saga set, and they did a really unique ultra rare printing that was only in that set. So I would personally pick them up. Those are about $4 for near mint. Supers, $2.50. Gold rares, $2.50-ish. And so forth. That's how it's getting. Secrets are like 20, or close to 20, like 18, 20. Might as well forget about that. Heck, this card even had a Mosaic rare from Battle Pack 2. And then you have Ultimate rares, which are definitely not budget friendly. Those are about 50 and up, near mint. But you guys get the idea. This card's had so many reprints. There's no reason why you can't pick up a playset of it. And Bear Statue stuns and Antimeta stuns don't run Pod Desires, because Pod Desires isn't really you don't really want to banish cards from that deck. So for those of you who don't like Pod Desires, be happy this time. But so that's essentially all for part 1. Part 2 will be out tomorrow. Essentially just going to look into different other cards that you can run, and just kind of give you guys options, because Barrier Statue and Antimeta decks have so many different options of cards to really choose from. So I think definitely a part 2 just on that is definitely something worth looking at, or worth doing. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys like it, like the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content when it comes out, and when you do, or if you do, make sure to hit that notification button so y'all get notified when new content comes out. I do 4 to 5 videos a week. Thank you guys for watching.